All right, so why do you have to install package bees today on package pickup day?
There's some urgency in hiving your bees. So you can see in there, there's a few dead bees on the bottom, and that's normal, but the more time goes by before we get them out of their package and into their hive, the harder it is on the bees, the more potential there is for bees dying. So these bees in this package were put in there on Wednesday. Today's Saturday, so Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they've been in there 3.5 days already. Over the years of installing package bees, that if they're in there longer than 5 days, they just don't do well. We want to get them out of there as soon as we can. So I'll drop the bees like this, take the cage out, and we don't want to let them out there as slowly as we can. We want to get them out as fast as we can. So I'll take the queen out, set her in the shade there for a minute, and I'll dump the bees out. If the bottom board to your hive is nailed on to the hive body, then it works good to rattle around a little bit. But if you do that, it could shake the hive body off the bottom board. So all right, so we've got those bees out in a hurry. The queen looks good. I'll gently set that in there. Gently set the frames in. I've got a frame of honey from last year's bees. It's actually a frame that was used for comb honey, and there wasn't some that was acceptable for comb honey, so I'm going to use this for bee feed. And if you have some drawn comb from a previous year, this gives the bee space to put nectar and to raise brooding right away without doing a lot of work. So the urgency in getting bees out and get them to work is they're going to be healthier, happier, more productive if you can get them out of the cage within 5 days of when they were shook in there. You don't necessarily have to go mix up some sugar. You've got some leftover sugar in here. We'll use that.
Do you always feed packages?
Yeah, so if the only exception to that would be if you have some leftover honey. So you don't always have to feed syrup, but you do have to feed them something. The urgency about putting these bees in now also is because we've got some cold weather coming up here 2 days from now. It's supposed to snow and stay really cold. So if the bees have plenty of food in there, then we won't be worried about that.
So we see the queen bee marching back and forth in there.
All right, so next thing I do, I'm going to take the cork out. I'm going to wait for her to go to the other end, and then I'm going to pop the cork out. I almost got it out. Not yet. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now, put your finger over.
If you don't, there goes $38.
All right, so now, instead of the cork, I'm taking some honey, right? Wait for her to go to the other end. Okay, now. All right, so the bees will have her released in just about 15 minutes. Which is just enough time for me to get out of there and get on to the next hive.
Say, why do you want to let her out of her cage quickly?
So the queen has already been in the package with these bees for 4 days. And that's long enough for them to realize that's their queen. Plus, they've been demoralized by being shook out of their other colony and shipped all the way from California. So they're in a mood to accept a new queen quickly, no matter who she is. If the queen bee can go to work on setting up the hive and establishing a good working colony at the same time that the workers do, then it seems to get off to a better start. If the workers are all busy and the queen's not doing her job, it just slows everybody down. And the bees might think, well, wait a minute, there's something wrong with our queen. Why isn't she at work with the rest of us? She's stuck in this cage, so we need to re-queen. We need to supersede. So it'll slow, it ruins their momentum when we don't have that queen out and going to work right away. I've learned that from many years of installing packages and coming back a day later, 5 days later, a week later, 2 weeks later, and seeing how they progress throughout the season. If that queen isn't out of her cage and going to work quickly with the rest of them, they never do take off. I won't say never, but quite often those are the colonies that are the slowest and the least productive throughout the summer. So let's get the queen out at the same time the rest of it's like a swarm. This is just an artificial swarm, right? It's a man-made swarm. So when the swarm lands somewhere, they start up a new colony, and the queen's right there with them going to work at the same time. So let's mimic what the bees do. Let's do what the bees want.